Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hilina, and I will be moderating your panel today on unpacking the future of crypto in Africa. Before we dive into the serious stuff, let's address the elephant in the room. Crypto can feel very like it's very complicated, especially between words like ZK, snarking, sharding, and hashing. But in order to use crypto, you don't really need to understand any of the technical jargon. So on our panel today, we have founders and people working in crypto that is actually making it more accessible for millions of Africans and actually really doing some important work. So I would like to all the panelists to introduce themselves and give a bit of intro on what they're doing currently.
Sure. I'm Chris Duffus, founder, CEO of Fonbnk, and we are a bridge to Web3. We use stablecoins as a gateway to global digital e-commerce for everyday transactions for Africans. And what makes us unique is that we started using prepaid airtime as a tokenized medium of exchange, and now we support all leading mobile-generated payment types accessing Web3 through stablecoins across the continent. And today, we're probably on track to be the leading liquidity provider within our intended types of payments across the continent. Thank you.
I'm Jason Marshall, the Chief Operating Officer of YellowCard. Responsible for product operations and a few other things. YellowCard is a fiat on and off ramp platform for stablecoins for consumers and businesses. We operate in 20 African countries. We have a consumer crypto exchange, as well as a suite of APIs and services for businesses.
Hi, I'm Gwera. I am the founder in residence for crypto at Onafriq, formerly known as MFS Africa. We are Africa's largest payment gateway with presence in about 40 countries. And yeah, we've recently, in the last year and a half, started exploring digital assets, and I'm leading that right now, looking to use crypto and stablecoin specifically, embed them into our business and to drive our existing and grow our existing business.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Munachimso Ogueke. I'm the CEO at OneLiquidity. OneLiquidity, we are a liquidity provider. So what that means is that we work with institutions, banks, DEX, different types of players in the space to provide them liquidity products, which extends from trading to payouts to lending to float. We are probably one of the largest liquidity providers on the continent, and yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Okay, so Chris, Fonbnk has been instrumental in providing access to digital assets through innovative means, such as mobile airtime, directly addressing the unique needs of the African market. Could you share with us how Fonbnk approached the challenge of navigating the diverse and complex landscapes of the African markets? And specifically, what strategies have you found most effective in localizing solutions to meet the specific demands and cultural nuances across different regions?
It's a great question. I don't know how many of you here have seen that movie Fight Club, but when it comes to crypto adoption, you don't talk about crypto. And in the same way, to paraphrase that saying in that movie. And so for us, our stated aim is really to provide a Web 2 experience for the crypto ecosystem, where a user can top up their phone, and that's the significance of prepaid airtime, is that you don't need a bank account, and we've abstracted away the complexity of converting one real-world asset into something that's on-chain, where it looks and feels like any other familiar type of payment method available on the continent today, so that a user doesn't have to educate themselves about, as you mentioned, ZK or any even protocols, like they may have heard of it, and so we make it push button simple. And again, it starts with things that people are very familiar with. And if you have to educate someone academically with like a college degree level computer programming to use your product, I think that's a fail, right? And with mobile penetration and mobile money penetration, such a strong part of the African ecosystem and ethos, that we think that that's sort of the ideal jumping off point to launch any type of crypto solution in market. And that's what we've done, starting with prepaid airtime.
Amazing. Yeah, definitely. Like you said, I think in order to really get adoption, we need to tap into people that are really not also interested in crypto. And yeah, using airtime is a very good use case. Yeah, no, we also don't need to know what ZK is to send money back home, right? So, Jason, the question, you're up next. So, with considerable number of Africans remaining unbanked, Yellow Card has taken a pioneering role in leveraging crypto to facilitate remittances and provide essential financial services. Can you elaborate on the strategies Yellow Card has implemented to tackle financial exclusion? I know earlier our panelists said let's focus on financial health from now on, but yeah. And furthermore, how do these strategies vary or adopt across different African markets to ensure effectiveness? Because I know you said you're in 20 countries currently.
Yeah. It's pretty basic stuff, right? We stay humble and we listen. 97% of our staff is African. And we have African staff using high-tech and low-tech means to listen to African customers. And then we craft solutions to meet basic financial services needs. We have local people using local languages, crafting products, messaging, and education resources for people to meet them where they're at, right? It's the basic blocking and tackling. It starts with humility. Sure, there's some tech involved, but really you just have to listen. Yes, Africans, they talk about underbanked, unbanked. I think they're differently banked, right? And there's solutions to connect them to this ecosystem, right? The key is to build it from a product level in a way that's easy to understand, easy to use, and then complement that with education. And we invest a lot of resources in those efforts.
Amazing. I mean, yeah, I think it's definitely important to, hire local staff wherever you are. And definitely that will definitely make you more successful as a business. Yeah, thank you. And I guess, Gwera, you're next. Like I said, I really like what you said earlier about focusing on financial health moving forward. And that was a very good point. But yeah, for now, I do have a question for you. So the importance of community engagement and education in driving crypto adoption cannot be overstated. And your company's efforts in this area are commendable and crucial for the ecosystem. Could you discuss the strategies you've employed to engage communities and foster a deeper understanding of cryptocurrency's potential? And do you have a way that you're measuring these impacts as well?
Sure. There's digital and non-digital things that have to work together,
I
right?
think that's for Gwera next.
Sorry.
I mean, Yellow Card could also speak to the community piece.
Yeah, for sure.
But I guess I'll speak as two entities. So Gwera, the recovering degen, and then Gwera, head of crypto at Africa's largest traditional payments company. So on the degen side, like in terms of my education, my understanding of the space, my enthusiasm has come from the incredible communities that have sprung up. To name a few, we've got the Safari DAO. I'm part of the Bankless community, for those who might know Bankless. ENS DAO. There's a lot of communities that are springing up, and again, also decentralized, to really foster enthusiasm, collaboration, all that in the space. Working with Onafriq, where I work right now, everyone on this stage, I believe, has interacted with Onafriq either as a client or a prospective partner with us. So we really, when you think about community, I think maybe we don't use the word community, we'll probably use the word partnerships, because I'm in a commercial role. And we think of it as we think of ourselves as being the bridge. So between Web 2, Web 3, traditional financial services, DeFi and Web3 in general. And someone's got to do it, right? Like, we're not going to see EcoBank tomorrow adopting stablecoins and using ZK rollups for their users. We're not going to see insurance companies using zero knowledge proofs or even NFTs to serve their customers. So there needs to be organizations, entities who are in the middle, and we've heard people call it Web 2.5, and that's really where we are, and coming from my background, my professional background has been strictly fintech, so financial services with neobanks, traditional banks, regulators, enterprise payments companies, but my passion, like prior to getting paid to do this, having a job in crypto, has been on the degen or like the actual hardcore crypto side. So bridging the two requires a ton of collaboration and partnerships is what I would use to describe. But community is another word. But do you want to add on the community piece and what Yellow Card? Okay, yeah. I'm a big fan of Yellow Card's community. They do a lot to educate their users. So when it comes to retail, consumer-facing company, they do a great job with that. But yeah.
Yeah, Jason, I think.
There's a series of high-tech and low-tech solutions. So we have a free Yellow Card Academy, academy.yellowcard.io in English and French. Content created by Africans for Africans to meet them where they're at different levels. But also we do a lot on the ground. For example, we have a financial literacy tour in Nigeria. Last year we touched over 10,000 people, including female-only events, to teach the basic things, right? Avoiding scams, how to use these tools to protect against devaluation, how to use these tools to receive remittances from abroad, et cetera, in local languages with local people, right? And I think it's that combination of digital, online, and on the ground is where how you can educate people. But people at different levels, whether they have a master's degree or a limited education, when it comes, people are smart, and people with limited financial resources are really smart about money because they have to be. Just have to give them the resources and the tools, and they'll grab them.
Oh, okay. Amazing. Good work on the academy. Didn't actually know you guys had an academy. So I just also a follow-up question for that. So are you educating people on, like you said, just being able to buy, sell crypto securities, or are you also maybe training like developers and things like that? Just a bit curious.
We're not focused on training developers, but our education doesn't just start and end with stable coins and crypto and even our business. It starts with identifying Ponzi schemes, right? Identifying quick get-rich-quick schemes, right? And the basic financial education that too many people don't have, and that lack of having is setting them up for a lot of financial pain.
Okay, perfect. Next question is for Muna. Nice to see you here. Obviously, I think when we talk about on-ramp, off-ramp, I want to ask a question about how you're dealing with countries that have parallel markets. I'm from Ethiopia, so you are also there. So just want to pick your brain on that. And do you also see this issue in other countries? And I also have a follow-up question maybe after you answer this one.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. So I think crypto is the best thing that's happened to a lot of illiquid African currencies because if we scale back maybe 10 years, that was pre-digital currencies. The FX of every country was pretty much centered around the foreign reserve of the country. So every FX or every payment that required to go in or go out had to go through the foreign reserve one way or the other. Because, for instance, if you were importing, let's say you were importing cotton, you have an LC where your bank has to pay an international bank. The only people that could service those kind of products were banks. And those banks, first of all, they will charge you what they want to charge you. I don't know whether it's good, it's bad, but they will charge you what they want to charge you, and I guess we know what they charge. But with the advent of crypto, I know I was in a meeting with some of the guys at the central bank in Nigeria. Crypto is the only product that doesn't put pressure on the foreign reserve because it creates an alternative market where if I was going to import goods, I could either not go through a bank. I could work with the PSSP, I could work with a broker, I could work with a liquidity provider, I could work with even a crypto company to facilitate those payments if they are properly licensed. So what it has done is, first of all, it has reduced the pressure, and also it has actually exposed how illiquid a lot of these markets are, because the central banking in Africa is predominantly by force. What that means is the central bank or the government will just say, this is the FX price, take it or leave it. Everyone has to either dance to that tune or go on that market. So anytime they remove those caps, if you look at the exchange rate on the black market and the official exchange rate, the minimum is usually 50%, because there's always a markup, and that markup is conservative. The moment they throw it out, you see that the exchange rate just spikes up, and that's because of it's illiquid. You understand? So with advent of crypto and also the ability for central banks to actually start understanding that, look, we can work with these guys or we can fight them, but the best alternative is for us to open an open market. I feel like it's going to spike more trade in the continent. More people are going to be able to do business internationally, and I think more capital will flow into the country because now there's an exit point. Because the problem is also, if you bring in capital, for instance, if you bring in capital into somewhere like Nigeria, let's say you want to invest in the stock market. Okay, let me not say Nigeria. If you want to invest in any stock market in Africa, and this is probably the reason why stock markets in Africa are generally dead. There's no way to take that capital out because it's illiquid. You understand? So alternative ways of processing money, it's very, very important, and it's going to help, maybe not in the short term, because the market first has to adjust to what the reality is. Before there's a stability, then there's an upsurge. That's what I feel.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I do believe that it will be, has to come a time where most governments in Africa have to accept, the usage of crypto. To your point, last year, for example, even in Ethiopia, we had only the central bank, our national bank only had foreign currency for 2 weeks worth of even importing medicine at one point, right? But still, right now, I mean, now recently they've kind of gave licenses for Bitcoin mining, but even knowing this, I mean, some governments are still not really, accepting crypto. I mean, for me, it's super sad because, to your point, I mean, the need of foreign currency is huge, and crypto can actually curb that. I think you want to add something.
Yeah, I mean, when I got into this business, I thought I was going to create this new clever payment service, but in reality, to be effective, you have to think about sort of this cross-border treasury requirement for you to actually be effective, because all of us in some way we're really just democratizing access to global currencies like dollars, euros, et cetera. And, one of the things I'd like to add in terms of what we do is, and I think is really important in this evolution to get this more liquidity is provide tools and make this type of technology more accessible to builders. Because for us to be effectively adopted and reducing the pressure on this currencies is really around baking in this technology or plumbing, so to speak, into this next generation of product out in the markets, right? And so if you're a web developer and you want to get paid, well, you want to now first, you might want to enable not just Nigerian payments or Kenyan payments or Ugandan payments or, Zimbabwe payments, but you want to enable Pan-African payments. And all of us have some form of solution around that. But I think it's really important to provide, those tools to make them more accessible. And we've actually done that. We've partnered with a number of the leading protocols to make that accessible for small developers to get started in Web3.
Chris, can I follow up? Can I ask you a question? This is
Please.
for both of you, actually. liquidity doesn't grow on trees, right? And especially for cross-border, which is really Onafriq, that's our core business. Can you tell us a little bit about how? I'm curious about how you guys use crypto specifically and to help with liquidity needs. Like, is solving for strapped liquidity a tech problem? Is it like just brute money problem? Like, how are you thinking about it?
I mean, I think it's everybody's problem.
Yeah.
Dollars are scarce, euros are scarce. One of the things that I would really be curious about in some of the discussions I've had is, stable coins for African currencies and making those more available to users, and not just central bank digital currencies, but private versions of stable coins, so that provide sort of easier on-ramping. So there's less friction in that process. But I think ultimately our job is to aggregate and find those pockets where it exists, and all of us in some form have our own sort of pockets that we pull from, but to make that more accessible in one place.
Okay, so let me just take a crack at it. So for me, the way our company runs, we don't see the difference between fiat currency, cryptocurrency. We only see opportunity, because when we look at our treasury and being a liquidity provider, we have access to global financing, we have access to global players. We know how to convert cryptocurrency to dollars. We know how to move it in, we know how to move it out. Now, what does this do and what does this mean? It means that we exist in a world where money is kind of like an isotope. It can exist in both forms. So our goal is to, for instance, if there's no dollar liquidity, we can take cryptocurrency and replace it with the dollar liquidity. If there's no cryptocurrency liquidity, we can take dollars and convert it to cryptocurrency. So for us, the reason why we are a liquidity provider is because we understand the market on a deeper level than most other players. We deal with the grassroots, last miles. We deal with banks. We deal with payment gateways. We deal with processors. We deal with everyone. They pipe through us. So at every point in time, we have the demand side and we have the supply side. For us, it's also about finding the best price to match those two people and get a trade done. So that's what we do. That's what we do every day. That's what I wake up every morning doing. So again, there's no difference for us. It is not a technology problem. It's a money problem, because at the end of the day, technology means nothing if it doesn't actually solve someone's problem. Do you understand? I can have a nice looking tech product. If it doesn't actually solve something and create value from someone, it's useless. It's a hobby.
Yeah, amazing. My next question is for Jason. I think, yellow card, you guys, really nailed it with like a real use case for crypto, and a while back, right, with using crypto for remittances. Obviously, the other ways of doing it is super expensive and also slow. But so I do want to ask you, what do you think the future of crypto looks like in Africa, especially when it comes to remittances or any other means of use case?
One of our goals is that I'm based in the United States. I should be able to send money from the United States to Africa. It should be near free and it should be fast. And the tech is there already. A couple weeks ago, I went $100 from my U.S. bank account to one of my coworkers' Nigerian bank account. We used a stable coin. We used a certain blockchain. I moved $100 from a U.S. bank account to a Nigerian bank account for 8 cents, 0.1%. I've sent money from the U.S. to South Africa, and that's not $100. The South African got more than $100. The cost was negative. I can send money from the U.S. to anywhere in Africa for 1% or less. That exists today. It's powerful for consumers. It's really powerful for businesses. It opens up whole new use cases. But I also spend a lot of time with brand ambassadors, employees, families. If it costs $12 to send $100 or 10 cents, in Nigeria, that makes a difference, right? That's a number of meals, right? That makes a difference in people's lives, right? For a business, that's the difference between staying afloat or not. right? And the technology exists now. Our challenge is the education, the UI UX, right? And how do we adopt it? But we're pretty confident that people throughout Africa, if they can save that kind of money, they're going to figure it out. We don't have to do a great job. We just have to do an okay job, and they'll figure it out.
Nice. And Gwera, earlier you mentioned, about NFTs, and I do believe NFTs are a very good use case for crypto, even if it comes to, like assets, could be real estate, whatever. So what do you think the future of crypto looks like, especially when it comes to NFTs in Africa?
I'll split my answer in two. What does the future of crypto look like in Africa? Doesn't look like crypto, to me at least. I don't think that it should. I don't think we should all be fumbling around with keys and figuring out how to remember a seed phrase and jumping between chains and, my God, having to figure all that stuff out. No. The future of crypto is players like Fonbnk, players like Yellow Card, who are abstracting that complexity away and making it simple and easy. Like, no one wants a mortgage, they want a house. So giving people what they want. No one wants to, we don't want an app that lets me send money abroad. I just want to make sure that, my mom gets a birthday present next month, So embedding this technology into, existing and financial services that are already doing it well. One great example of NFT use or even smart contract use that I can point to is Circle. So Circle, the issuer of USDC, is doing really cool stuff with smart contracts and ride-hailing services in parts of Asia and Latin America, where it's a very, you can solve very boring problems that make a huge impact. So, your Bolt driver today, your Uber driver who brought you here today, if you paid with a card, they won't receive that money for about 2 weeks. It takes a long time for that to settle. There's a way that we could actually use NFTs and we could use smart contracts to identify those payments, connect a tokenized, a card to a token essentially, and, release those funds instantly in a stable coin to a wallet that belongs to the driver. So they're not, having to wait. Who here has taken an Uber in Kenya and they say, apana, give me cash? Has anyone done that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens all the time. That's the problem. So it's like the future of crypto is solving mundane but incredibly impactful problems like that using crypto under the hood.
Okay, interesting. Question for you, Muna. I from speaking with you, I know you've been in, tried to work in many different countries, also in Africa, but also other places. I think we definitely need, on-ramp is very important, right? And how do you find it? How is it to work with the different banks in different countries? Which are the hardest ones that were for you to work with and easy ones?
That's a very complex question. Even though it seems simple, but it's a very complex question because banks are proud. Let's start from there. So they don't believe they need you because they are making bank, like Chris said, big bank. The point is you need to look for who actually you will solve his problem, and how you solve that problem. So on-ramping and off-ramping is basically looking for someone on the supply side or someone on the demand side. In countries like even in Ethiopia, there are people that need cryptocurrency. So that's an on-ramp. There's someone that wants to make a payment. That's an off-ramp. You're looking for how to merge those two people can create an alternative. You remember what we are trying to do is to decongest banking, and create alternatives. So, but in some cases, you still need to work with banks. Like people like us, because we run large lines of credit with banks, we still need to post up collateral with banks. At the end of the day, some banks are willing to work with you, depending on kind of business, how you structure your business, how much money you can make them, because at the end of the day, it comes down to paper, really. And when you start a conversation with a bank and tell them that this is what we do, this is what we can do for you, it gets easier. It gets easier. Except it's a country with a direct red flag, like Ethiopia, where you can get locked up, or Egypt. So you need to be very careful those kind of countries you deal with. If it's a great country where they're not so sure, the country is trying to deal with it, you can walk up to the bank and you can tell them this is what you do. Sometimes they can suggest structures for you that say, okay, we can't bank you directly with this entity. Okay, if you can create this entity that does this, this, and this, we can look at the structure. Everything, like someone said, there's a front door, there's a middle door, there's a back door, depending on how you want to take it. And everything is relationship. And with banking especially, it's real relationship. And I always say this, I tell people that if I had a missed call from my mom or my banker, I'll pick my banker's call first, because you can't play when it comes to those kind of things, because you don't know what's happening. So you just need to be very woke and work with them like you had a relationship with them.
And Chris, I will ask you the same question I asked the rest. What do you think the future of crypto looks like in Africa?
So, our thesis is that there's this convergence between the application and payments, and the blockchain, cryptocurrencies is that glue. And the very nature of it, this whole composability that allows you to essentially create building blocks of your own fintech solution, I think that's the future, whether it's on-chain identity, whether it's I want to accept Visa cards, whether it's to pay an Uber driver. We want to create this simple solution set that someone can take and create whatever they want from a traditional commerce standpoint. It just so happens that the plumbing is on crypto and the blockchain, and they might utilize all of our different services as part of that whole entire stack, depending upon where they are and what they're looking to do at any particular time.
So let me just add to this. On the continent, again, because we're a liquidity provider, we also do some tech infrastructure. So we have a lot of exchanges, local exchanges integrated directly into us. We probably process, or we used to process, the largest amount of Bitcoin maybe on the continent. What I've come to realize is the word crypto is it's not specific, and we need to be very specific. The future of tokenized assets is very bright. The future of native assets might not be very clear. Native assets being things like Bitcoin, Ethereum. Now, the superior blockchains, which are the Bitcoin infrastructure, the Ethereum infrastructure, maybe the BSC infrastructure, and the Tron infrastructure, those ones will last, because they have intrinsic use cases. And the use case of every protocol, of any blockchain infrastructure, is tokenization. There's no other use case. USDC is a tokenized product. There's no other use case for any, maybe people say gaming, but it's still a tokenized product. Now, when you look at Bitcoin, and I'm going to use a use case for Bitcoin, last month, I think I called Chris, last month or in November, the cost of me processing Bitcoin was over $300,000 fees. Because now there's this thing called ordinals on the chain. So people are posting, I don't want to say crap, but it's crap. Because someone is posting an NFT on the Bitcoin chain, and I'm having to pay more because now the fees are spiked. To process Bitcoin is now unsustainable. The only people that actually use Bitcoin on the continent, or even globally now, are institutions to store value, because it can never work as a currency anymore. Impossible. The only things that can work as currencies now are tokenized assets. So you have things like USDT, USDC, BUSD used to be good, but yeah. So the future of crypto on the continent is going to be highly specialized. It's going to focus more on tokenization. So tokenized assets, so currencies, CBDCs, stable coins, those things are going to last. They're going to probably outlast every business here. Things like Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to be fund manager tools. What that means is asset management tools or tools to create or store wealth. It's not necessarily going to be on everyone's protocol because remember, this is Africa. The first problem we need to solve is for people to eat. That's the primary problem. Do you understand? And no matter how you think about it, transaction fees is at the core of what we do. So if we have a chain like Ethereum chain where the cost is high, the only people that can actually use those kind of chains are people like institutions like ours that have aggregated so much value and we need to move it. So essentially, you're looking at protocols becoming something like Swift network at the end of the day. So the future, again, is going to be tokenized assets, tokenized currencies, tokenized mortgages, tokenized lending. Everything is going to be tokenized. Eventually, a lot of all these other chains that don't find their grasp now probably will die out in the next couple of years. That's just my own opinion about this.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, I think we have 5 minutes. So maybe if anyone wants to take this question that I'm going to ask, I feel like most of the time people are coming in and giving us their solutions, whether it's chains, also pre-Web3 as well. And I think that like kind of creating local solutions for local problems, I think should be important. How can we have these different companies, whether it's chains or whoever is trying to come and do their activities in this region, to actually like listen to the people and what they need, and not really only using also the African narrative, which happens a lot, I feel like.
I'll start that one. So my background is in product, and in product there's a way of thinking called jobs to be done. So identifying the needs of the user, who is a person, business, whatever the stakeholder is, and what is the job that they need to be done. And like I said earlier, like no one wants a mortgage. No one really wakes up in the morning and is like, I really want to get a mortgage today. They want a house. Mm-hmm. So figuring out how to do that, your user or your client or whoever you're serving, what is their job to be done? Because so oftentimes I'm seeing a lot of crypto companies, no names will be named today, but who are coming here to solve problems that don't exist, using complex technology. So just I think advice to anyone thinking about starting a crypto company or payments or a foreign company trying to enter Africa, don't try and fit a square peg into a round hole. Like actually try and consider the job to be done.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. We have a big partnership strategy at Yellow Card. We have a suite of APIs and other tools. And the last 12 months, we've been hosting some of the leading fintechs, sometimes on their first trip to Africa. And we bring them in the room with entrepreneurs, business and consumer customers, and we just make them listen. And you can literally see them go, oh, as their assumptions fall away, you can literally see it on their face. And we're going to keep doing that. I think that's what we have to do. We have to invite them here, but bring them in the right rooms, bring the people with problems in front of them. And they're not going to become experts in Africa, but they'll at least drop their assumptions. They'll gain a little humility, and they'll listen to the local people and the local people solving those problems. And we think that there'll be a lot of global companies partnering with African firms to help localize and adapt the infrastructures they're building.
I think, Chris, you wanted to add something.
Totally agree. And one of the applications that's worked really well for us, that's core to our business model, is the use of prepaid airtime. Most people don't realize from the West that mobile data, airtime, it's 3 to 5 times more expensive per gigabyte here across the continent than it is in the West. And as a result, people are very judicious in terms of how they might use their data. So one of our go-to-market strategy has been to give away free airtime for people that sign up, and as a way to zero rate our services, our partner services. And it's worked so well that we actually grew nearly a third of all Stellar USDC wallets within 2021, 2022, just within the sub-Saharan African key markets for us. And we've now become a go-to partner with that and similar type strategies that, again, are hyper-local and in our understanding of sort of people's requirements. And, someone mentioned, like, first you got to make it so that people can eat. Well, we make it so that they can, use their phones inexpensively and, that which is their gateway to the rest of the world.
Okay. For me, I'm just going to use a very simple analogy. If you look at the Maslow hierarchy of needs, aspirational needs are high up there, and human needs are still down. And if you look at Africa, there's a reason why fintech is the hottest space now in Africa. And the reason is very simple. The infrastructure is not there. If you go to the US, you see a lot of amazing type of products, people doing this for that, that for this. There's no infrastructure here. Like, there's none. If you look at a simple product like Money Point, they're probably one of the biggest players in the space currently. And the reason is very simple. The reason why they're so big right now is because we thought someone had solved payments, but nobody has solved it. Do you understand? Nobody has solved this intrinsic thing at mass scale. Everyone is trying to create a dApp that does this, that does that. People have not really solved the most basic layer of problems before you scale it up. Do you understand? You see products like Flutterwave, you see products like MoneyPoint that are solving POS. If you go, I stay in Dubai. If you go, you can do tap to pay there. Like, it is a non-existent problem in advanced countries. But in Africa, it's a big problem. Like, I remember up until at least 5 years ago, card payments were not really working. Like, the probability that the card payments will fail is so high, everybody moved with cash. Because, and if you still go to countries like even Ethiopia, still majorly cash.
Yeah.
So banking is not solved yet. Don't believe there's a lot of banks in Africa. So many banks, so plenty. Most of them are illiquid. Most of them can't even extend you a reasonable loan. Everything is fully collateralized. In advanced countries, there's a credit system that works. All these things are not there yet. So the basic infrastructure is not built yet. So if you're coming to Africa, right, lower your expectations, first of all. Don't think that what gimmicky things is happening in the US or in Europe, they're bringing that your gimmicky app. People won't, like, again, people need to eat. People need to solve basic problems first before you can take that up. Until those problems are solved, we are not really ready. We're not there yet. So let's still keep investing in fintech. Let's still invest in creating those infrastructure that are going to get other things to be built on top. Until we get that right, everything is still going to be slow.
Munachi's right. Even a country like Kenya, where everyone thinks payments is solved, last time I made an M-Pesa payment, it cost 1.6%. If that's the solution, then we need to rethink things, right? It's 10 times cheaper in Nigeria, by the way, right?
So it's not a Kenya problem, it's an M-Pesa problem, sorry.
Same thing.
For the record, I didn't make that statement.
We love M-Pesa.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we're out of time. Unless one of you guys have something to add. But thank you very much. It was a very nice conversation.